Hey, thanks for tuning in to Loans with Chris. My name is Chris, and I'm an independent mortgage broker. So today we're going to talk about the 5 most important requirements of getting pre-approved for a home loan. Before we do, let's hop into a couple of quick things and just kind of shed some light or clarify. So there's a difference, a big difference, between a mortgage broker and a mortgage lender. A mortgage lender is going to be a mortgage bank, like a direct lender they call themselves, or a depository lender, a bank that you would go maybe deposit money at, or withdraw money or whatever it is. A broker is going to be an independent loan originator that works for a brokerage. The reason this is important is that we have no overhead. Why that matters to you is that we get to pass those savings on to you, so you get best rate and best fees. I can share more on that later, but it's pretty important and it's a pretty big difference. Also, let's talk about really quick the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. A pre-qualification is just that. It's nothing more than a quick review. You call a lender up and you say, hey, I'm interested in buying a home. And they say, great, tell me about you. And you say, well, I'm really nice, I'm good looking, I've got good credit, perfect income and long time history of job, and I have no debt, and my debt to income ratio is really low. So I'm going to buy a $500,000 house. And they say, that sounds good. You go out there and shop for a home and let me know when you found the right home, and we'll get a loan all put together for you. Well, the problem with that is the obvious. What if there are other things that haven't been considered? What if the income that you have is different than what they put on the application? What if they have no application at all? What if you can't qualify for that home you've just signed a contract on? Well, you've got challenges, and those need to be addressed. So more importantly is a pre-approval, and you want to go through the process of getting a full loan pre-approval, which brings us to the 5 most important factors of a full mortgage pre-approval. Here we go. Number 1, the application. Any loan officer is going to need a boilerplate, a blueprint of who you are on paper. And that includes things like your personal information. Where do you live? How long have you lived there? What's your social security number? What's your date of birth? Yes, it's personal and private, but we are licensed, and this information is not going to be shared with anybody for any reason. In fact, it's illegal. There are privacy acts that prevent this from happening. And any licensed loan officer is going to follow these basic laws. So the application is going to include things like your employment history or your income history. And it's going to tell us how much money you have for a home loan, for a qualification for a home loan, to support the home loan, for reserves. It's also going to tell us your credit. Your credit's going to have a lot of pieces of information. Your credit scores, which affect your pricing and the type of loan you can do. Your debt, which in essence is one of the key pieces of qualifying for a loan, because if we don't know the specific debt, we can't qualify you or line up your debt to income ratio correctly, which is important because loans have thresholds of these things. So your credit scores, your credit debt, and your credit history are all very important. And then there's some other things that go along with this application. So it is very important, and really the starting point and a blueprint for any good home loan. Okay, number 2. Number 2 is going to be documentation. I can get an application all day long, but without documentation to support it, it really is just a piece of paper and not worth anything. So the documentation can include a lot of things, but in short, it looks like this. We need a history of income and employment. So do you have a W-2 job? How long have you been there? We need a 2-year history. Are you self-employed? Have you been doing it for 2 years? And do you have 2 years tax returns? Very important. Or do you get your income from other sources like retirement or disability, which are all fine as long as they're considered regular or permanent and have a continuance, and you can still use that income to qualify for a home loan. Then we also need to see your assets. How much money do you have for this loan? Maybe I already talked about that, but in short, we need to know how much money you've got. We're going to get a credit report, which is, again, something that's provided by you or started by you through an approval for that credit pull. Once I have the credit report, I can look at your debt, your credit scores, your credit history, and be able to determine what kind of loan I'm going to need to structure for you, and what does that look like for you? How much loan can you qualify for, and what's that going to look like for you on a monthly basis? All right, that's enough about the documentation. There are other things that might be needed on a one-off basis, like a bankruptcy filing, or maybe a previous foreclosure that you have documentation on, or maybe you were married and you have a marital separation agreement and you receive or pay support to your previous spouse or your children. And that's important as well. But those are one-offs, and we can talk about those one by one. All right, number 3, the mortgage broker is going to need to review the application and the documents to determine all the things that we just talked about. And a thorough review is going to be needed in order to be able to give you a true understanding of how much loan you can obtain and what does that look like for you monthly. All right, number 4, and this is very important. Any good loan officer is going to do an automated underwriting of your loan file. Now, they're not going to do it themselves. There's software to help with that, and it's automated. So what that means is that we obtain through a software a electronic review by one of a few entities. Usually it's Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, which are currently government-based entities, and they really kind of look at all of the pieces of your application as reviewed and approved by the guidelines for whatever loan program you're qualifying for. It's a very important piece. A lot of loan officers don't do it, but it's crucial. And any good mortgage broker is going to do that for you. All right, number 5, and this is very important, probably second most important to a loan application, and that's a full pre-approval letter. Now, it's only really important if you're buying a home. If you're buying a home, it's what I call a golden ticket. You've gone through all this process with a loan broker. Now they have told you how much house you can buy, what that looks like for you monthly on an estimated basis. And now you get that golden ticket to give to your realtor, if you're using one, to go out and find a home that meets your needs and based on what's available in the marketplace that meets the requirements that you can qualify for. And it's really important. So you want to have that in association with the loan that you've been pre-approved for, because without it, you won't be able to actually execute a contract to buy a home. Now, if you're refinancing a home, you don't need a pre-approval letter, but you do need a full, thorough review by a mortgage professional, which will include all of the other pieces of the top 5 most important things. So, if there's more you'd like to know, feel free to subscribe to my page, Loans with Chris, or reach out directly. I welcome the conversation, and until we speak, keep up the good work.